The snow fell in slow, relentless sheets outside Chicago O'Hare, coating the tarmac in a blanket of silence. Inside the terminal, 1,000 bodies buzzed with agitation, canceled flights, dying phone batteries, overpriced snacks, and the low hum of fluorescent lights. Among them moved Danielle Rivers, a poised, sharp-eyed aerospace engineer who had spent her career in rooms where she was mistaken for the intern, even when she was the one leading the briefing. She adjusted the strap of her duffel and kept walking, heels tapping against the linoleum in sync with the thrum in her chest. Date C-12. Flight to San Francisco delayed. Again. Danielle exhaled. Not in frustration. In focus. The delay gave her more time to mentally prepare for the pitch of her life, a prototype drone system designed for wildfire response. She needed funding, and she intended to get it. She scanned the waiting area for a quiet corner with an outlet and fewer staring eyes. That's when she saw him. A man in a charcoal coat sat near the window in a wheelchair, positioned carefully between two mismatched chairs. He had a soldier's posture, straight back, chin up, but his hands rested with tension, and his eyes were cold, closed off, watching everything. Danielle noticed the faint tremor in his left hand and the worn rubber on one of the wheels. Her instincts kicked in, not pity, but purpose. Need a hand? She asked, calm and direct. He looked up, surprised. A pause stretched between them, wary and silent. Then he nodded. The left wheel keeps catching. This floor hates me, he muttered. Danielle crouched without hesitation, inspecting the wheel. Looks like a jammed axle. Might be debris. You're an engineer? He asked. Sort of. Aerospace. I build drones, not chairs. But mechanics are mechanics. He tilted his head. Efficient. I try, she replied, brushing her hands off. Push forward while I stabilize. Together, they moved in rhythm. Her guidance, his strength. The wheel clicked free. Thank you, he said, extending a hand. I'm Ethan Blake. She took it, hesitant but steady. Danielle Rivers. There was a flicker in his eyes, recognition, and then it vanished. You looked like you could use a break, too, he offered, gesturing to the seat beside him. Danielle usually avoided strangers, but something about him felt unguarded, exhausted, but sincere. She sat. Neither of them realized it then, but that moment, that snowbound delay, would be the doorway to a buried truth that would unravel their pasts, reshape their futures, and uncover a betrayal powerful enough to destroy everything they thought they knew. The world outside the airport window was dissolving into white, endless, heavy, and quiet. Danielle sat next to Ethan in silence, her thoughts ticking faster than the arrival board could refresh. She was supposed to be reviewing her pitch, rehearsing numbers, impact metrics, delivery lines. Instead, she was sitting next to a stranger who had looked at her necklace like it wasn't just jewelry, like it was history. Ethan glanced at it again. A thin silver chain, the pendant small but intricate, glinting beneath the terminal lights. That's a unique piece, he said carefully. It was a gift, Danielle replied, her tone short but not cold. He didn't push, not yet. From someone important. She turned to meet his eyes. Calm. Focused. A little too steady. The kind of stare that had been trained to read people. Yes, she said. But he's gone. Ethan didn't respond immediately. His jaw tensed ever so slightly. Then he gave a slow nod and looked away. But something had shifted between them, a question unasked but loud in the air. Danielle followed his gaze across the terminal. A man in a business coat was watching her, not just glancing, watching. His expression unreadable, but the intent clear. She'd seen that look before. Disbelief. Judgment. The silent demand to explain why someone like her belonged in this space. Ethan noticed, too. That guy has a problem, he murmured, without turning his head. Danielle didn't flinch. Ignore it. I try, he said. But you shouldn't have to. The simplicity of the statement hit her harder than it should have. She gave him a quiet nod and opened her laptop, anything to shift the moment. On the screen, a 3D, rendered drone model rotated in perfect silence. Lightweight, modular, fast deployment. Her company's core design. Ethan leaned closer. You built that. From scratch. My firm's pitching it to investors tomorrow. He studied the screen, then turned to her. You built that. And you're sitting in an airport terminal with the rest of us. Danielle gave a half smile. The world doesn't hand out respect just because you're competent. Especially not to women like me. Ethan was quiet for a long beat. Then, softly, what does women like me mean to you? She closed the laptop with a soft click. It means people assume I'm the assistant, not the lead. That I get pulled aside in security more often than others. that I've had to learn how to keep my voice level and my back straight, because one wrong move becomes a stereotype. He didn't blink, didn't interrupt. Finally, he said, "That's not right." "No," she agreed. "But it's real." Another silence stretched. Outside, wind battered the glass like a warning. Another flight delay crackled over the intercom. Then Ethan turned to her, something different in his voice. "If you ever need someone who won't underestimate you." "I know people." Danielle raised an eyebrow. "And why would you help me?" "Because someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it." She stood, slowly. "Appreciated. But I don't need saving." "I didn't say you did." Their eyes locked again, steady, wary, strange. Then Danielle walked toward the vending machines. Ethan remained seated, watching the soft gleam of her pendant as it swung gently beneath her collar. He knew that chain. He would have recognized it anywhere, because it used to belong to his brother. But he said nothing. Not yet. When Danielle returned with a lukewarm bottle of water, Ethan didn't look at her right away. But his posture had shifted, more rigid, more guarded. She sat down beside him again, her movements controlled, but her thoughts were racing. Something in the way he looked at her pendant wasn't curiosity. It was memory. Recognition. "You never asked who gave it to me," she said, her voice low. Ethan didn't look up. "I figured you didn't want to talk about it." "I don't," she said. "But you already know." Now he turned, slowly, eyes shadowed but no longer neutral. "It belonged to Richard," he said. "Richard Blake. My brother." The name hit her like a slap of wind. She'd known it was coming, but hearing it from Ethan's mouth, confirmation wrapped in pain, still knocked the air from her lungs. "I didn't know he had a brother," she said after a moment. "You're not the only one he kept things from," Ethan replied. "We had different mothers. Same father. Same last name, but not much else." He compartmentalized everything. Danielle nodded slowly. "That sounds like him." They fell silent, each lost in separate reels of memory, grief, and betrayal. Danielle leaned forward, elbows on her knees, and let the words fall. "We met at a fundraiser 4 years ago. He was magnetic, reserved, but when he looked at you, really looked, it was like you were the only thing that mattered. We were together 3 years. He never mentioned you. Not once." Ethan exhaled sharply. He thought he was protecting you. From what? From us. From what we'd become. From Evelyn. The name landed like a curse between them. "The CEO?" Danielle asked, already knowing. Ethan nodded. "Our father left the company to her when he died. Richard never forgave him. Evelyn's smart. Ruthless. The kind of woman who makes loyalty feel like a contract. And if you break it, she erases you." Danielle swallowed hard. "He started to pull away that last year. I thought it was stress. Burnout. But it was fear. He told me it was safer that way, not to ask questions." "He was right," Ethan muttered. "Before he died, he told me he'd found something. Something Evelyn was hiding. Contracts? Off-the-books payments." "He didn't say much. Just that it was big." Danielle looked at him sharply. "They told me it was a heart attack. No autopsy. Cremated within 2 days. They told me overdose," Ethan said. "But he didn't use. He hated pills." Their eyes locked, two people who had been fed different lies about the same man. And now the truth was bleeding through the cracks. Danielle touched the pendant. It felt heavier than ever. She hadn't taken it off since the day she got the call. "He gave this to me before he died," she said. "He said, if anything happens, don't let anyone else touch it." "I thought it was just sentiment." Ethan's gaze narrowed. "Did you ever check what's inside?" Her pulse jumped. Inside? Richard never trusted cloud storage. If he hid something, it was physical. He believed in redundancy. That pendant might be more than just a necklace. Danielle stood up. "My brother's hotel is 2 exits from here. He has a secure setup." "Does he know?" "Not yet. He's 23, law student, and a pain in the ass. But he's smart." "Then let's go." They moved quickly. The snow outside had softened into mist, but the wind still clawed at their coats as they stepped into a rideshare. Danielle gave a vague drop-off point. No patterns. No digital footprints. She kept her fingers wrapped tightly around the pendant, her mind spiraling. Was this what Richard had meant to protect her from? They reached the hotel. Her brother, Marcus Rivers, opened the door before she could knock. Hoodie, bare feet, mug of coffee in hand, and an expression that flickered between concern and relief. "You look like hell," he said. "I need your help." "That's what you say when the drone catches fire." "No," Danielle said, pulling the necklace from her neck. "This is bigger. Richard gave me this before he died. I think he had something inside." Marcus blinked, then straightened. "Let's crack it open." Using a small adapter, he connected the pendant to his laptop. For a second, nothing. Then, a blinking folder appeared. A single video file. Timestamped 11 days before Richard's death. "You ready?" Marcus asked. Danielle nodded. The video opened. Richard's face appeared, tired and gaunt, illuminated by a single lamp. "If you're watching this," he began, "then I'm already dead." Danielle covered her mouth. Marcus froze. "I found it," Richard's voice said. "Evelyn's contract with the Department of Defense. She's building something surveillance, hidden in defense tech. Illegal. Massive. She buried your father for trying to stop it. And she'll come for you next." The screen went black. Danielle staggered back like she'd been struck. Marcus whispered, "They set up Dad." And from the doorway, Ethan's voice came, low and full of rage. "She killed my brother." Danielle looked at them both. "We're not victims anymore." Her voice was steady. Her eyes were sharp. "We're going to bring her down." The hotel room was heavy with silence, broken only by the faint hum of Marcus's laptop and the wind clawing at the windows. The truth had detonated in the space between them, and no one had moved since. Danielle sat with her fingers pressed to her temples, trying to hold back the spin of grief, rage, and adrenaline. The image of Richard's face, flickering with purpose and exhaustion, wouldn't leave her mind. "They buried him," she said quietly. "And they buried Dad, too." Marcus nodded, his jaw locked tight. "And we have proof now. Enough to trigger an investigation." Ethan paced slowly, his wheelchair moving in tense half circles. "We need more than just the video. We need contracts, names, systems, access." Richard said Evelyn was running an off-book surveillance program. "Obsidian," Marcus added. He didn't say the name, but based on the folder's metadata, that's what it's called. "And it was embedded in Department of Defense infrastructure?" Danielle asked. "Yes. Disguised as research and development. But they were monitoring civilians. No oversight. No warrant." Danielle's hand closed around the pendant again, as if it were still protecting her. "How do we prove it beyond this?" Ethan stopped. "There was a man, Leon Harrington. He was my father's advisor for years. He left when Evelyn took control of Mortec. He might have copies. Richard trusted him." Marcus's fingers flew across the keys. "Leon Harrington. Used to teach at Stanford. Hired as a private contractor by Mortec in 2012. Resigned without cause in 2018. Registered a private consulting LLC last year, located in Daly City." Danielle stood. "We go now." Marcus blinked. "It's almost midnight. Which means Evelyn's people are already moving. You think she won't come for this once she finds out?" Ethan wheeled to the door. "We split. Marcus and I take one car. Danielle takes another. No digital trails. No linked accounts. Everyone moved at once. Backpacks zipped. Drives were encrypted and duplicated." Danielle wrapped the pendant in a cloth and stuffed it deep into her coat. Outside, the rain had thickened into a freezing mist. San Francisco felt colder than Chicago now, not because of temperature, but because they were being hunted. They met again 40 minutes later, outside a nondescript brick building wedged between two dark storefronts. A stairwell led down into shadows. Danielle knocked. 3 sharp raps. The door creaked open. Leon Harrington was older than Ethan remembered. Hair thinner, eyes sharper. He looked at each of them for a long moment before speaking. "You brought ghosts," he said. Then he stepped aside. "Come in." The apartment smelled of ink, paper, and dust. Floor-to-ceiling shelves lined the walls, bursting with documents, binders, and maps. There was no TV, just an old analog clock and a single heater that wheezed like it resented the cold. Ethan rolled forward. "It's about Richard." That made Harrington pause. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't need to. They told him anyway. The death. The cover-up. The video. The pendant. The word obsidian. When they finished, Harrington sighed and turned to a locked cabinet. He typed in a code. Click. From inside, he pulled a weathered manila folder and a small black case. "Richard gave me this," he said, placing them gently on the table. "Said if anything happened to him, it wasn't an accident." Danielle opened the folder. Her breath caught. Contracts with Mortec. DoD memos. A letter signed by Evelyn Moore herself, authorizing data collection methods that clearly violated federal privacy law. Marcus opened the case. A second flash drive. He inserted it into his laptop. Screens filled with files. Codenames. Surveillance logs. Transaction trails to offshore accounts. Civilian IDs cross-referenced with drone tracking data. Proof of illegal operations, layered, deliberate, expansive. Danielle whispered, "She built an empire off fear." Ethan didn't speak. He was staring at the ground like it had betrayed him. Then Harrington moved to the window, parting the blinds an inch. A black SUV was parked across the street. Lights off. Engine running. He stepped back. "They found us," he said grimly. Danielle grabbed the drive. "Then we don't wait." They fled into the night, not with fear, but with purpose. Rain lashed the alley. Shadows watched. But for the first time, they had the one thing Evelyn Moore couldn't control: the truth. The courtroom was colder than Danielle expected, not from temperature, but from weight. History hung in the wood-paneled walls. Dust floated in narrow rays of morning light. Her back was straight, fingers laced tightly in her lap, every breath measured. The motion to vacate Thomas Rivers' conviction was on the docket. Everything they had, the Obsidian files, Evelyn Moore's signed orders, the video Richard left behind, had been submitted, verified, authenticated. And now, all they could do was wait. Beside her, Marcus vibrated with restless energy. Across the aisle, Ethan sat still, his chair rigid, eyes unmoving. Claire was beside him, shoulders square, gaze locked forward. Leon Harrington sat near the back, silent as a stone. Then the judge entered. She was older, deliberate, her robe flowing like authority made flesh. She read through the motion slowly, each page turned like it weighed a pound. And then she said the words Danielle had dreamed of, feared she'd never hear. "There is overwhelming new evidence that undermines the original prosecution. This court hereby vacates the 2009 conviction of Thomas Rivers." Danielle couldn't breathe. Tears slipped silently down her cheek, not from sadness, but from the unfreezing of something that had been buried in her chest for over a decade. Later, outside the courthouse, Thomas Rivers stood waiting on the steps. He looked thinner, older, but when he saw her, his shoulders straightened, and his eyes lit with something unshaken. Danielle ran into his arms. He held her like a man anchoring himself to the last thing that still made sense. "You did it," he whispered. "No," she said, voice trembling. "We did." Ethan, Marcus, Claire, they all gathered around them. Justice had arrived. But it wasn't the end. That night, from a rooftop cafe above the city lights, they sat together, not as rebels, not as survivors, but as builders of something new. Danielle raised her glass. To Richard. To the ones who told the truth, even when no one listened. They toasted in silence, but with meaning. Marcus turned to her. "So what now? You could launch a movement, a foundation, even run for office." Danielle smiled, the kind of smile that carried resolve. "I don't want power. I want to make sure no one like Evelyn gets to erase the truth again. I'm building something that can't be buried. For Richard, for Dad, for everyone silenced." Ethan reached across the table, steady. "Then we're with you." The city pulsed below, sirens, traffic, life, but above it, they sat in stillness. No longer hunted, no longer hidden. Danielle held the silver pendant in her palm. It no longer felt heavy. It felt earned. Because silence ends the moment someone decides to speak. And she had spoken, loud enough for the world to finally listen.